Have you ever watched a woman at a bar hit on a man and get turned down? You want to talk about not having self-control. Try a woman getting turned down. I've seen women become violent and angry and rude, all because a guy turns her down. You want to talk about not having self-control. You ever seen women grab up on men at the bar? The guy's uncomfortable and tells them to stop, and they keep going because it's flirtatious and cute when they're assaulting him. Flip the other side and a man did that, people will be all over him and throwing him out.
You know something? She's right. And what she's talking about is a double standard between men and women. Women naturally have easier access to men in creating relationships. Men don't always have the opportunity to have as many women approach them as women have. Men don't always have the opportunity to have access to an abundance of women, but more likely than not, women have that access to men. Over time, men naturally build up a tolerance and a resistance to rejection and how we handle rejection. And while men over time are building up this tolerance, women over time get rejected a lot less. And as a consequence, how they handle rejection is delayed, and they have a lot less tolerance and mental strategy to take on the mindset that men often learn, which is there's more fish in the sea. The second topic that she talks about is women roping men. And I've had this happen personally. A woman might come up, you don't even know her, in any environment or any atmosphere. She'll come up, she'll say, hey, how you doing? Or, she might grab my arm or, touch me, and maybe within seconds of meeting me. And I've had it where I'm at a bar and, a woman just walks up and she just starts touching on my chest. As a man, we all know what she's trying to do. She's trying to see what I'm working with. But just imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and a man walked up to the woman and did the same thing. It would be handled and looked at in a totally different light. I'm not really saying that it's wrong. I honestly feel like it depends on the person, and if you like them, whether or not you're going to say that you liked or thought it was okay for them to do what they did. But fortunately and unfortunately, it's just the double standard that we live in. But no matter if you're a man or a woman, if somebody tells them to stop and they don't stop, then somebody please call the authorities. And as to the person that she's responding to in the subtext, I don't know a man around me, or never really even heard of a man, including myself being one, ever wanting an accolade for not being what you're suggesting, or ever want to be associated with anything of the such. I mean, unfortunately, it happens. And maybe you have had an experience of your own. In my opinion, it's inconsiderate to make such a vague statement and to put all men underneath that same umbrella. And hopefully you begin to encounter men that shed a different light for you. Nonetheless, God bless you. Moving on.
Call me biased because this happened to my husband, but hear me out. So an ad came up on his Facebook for a cell phone company that was giving donations to women's shelters. Listen closely to his comment. He said, wow, it's great to see good causes like this being supported by big companies. It would be great to see the men's shelter supported as well so that we can create an equal dialogue. Super positive, super fair, super non-dismissive, and frankly, he's right. He was promptly attacked by women telling him to go cry about it, go put on a dress and sleep in the street in the rain and see how it feels. I don't think they realized who they were talking to or how much it hurt. He's been homeless. He was kicked out at 17 and he's been on his own ever since. He's a recovered drug addict who has spent many nights on the streets. And guess what? There was nowhere for him to go because women's shelters are everywhere, but you are hard-pressed to find one that will take a man, especially a 17-year-old boy. So he's coming from a place of full understanding of the needs for these resources, and he has every right to ask for equality in that. And he was met with absolutely no understanding in return. If this is the kind of equality women want, count me out.
Wow, that's such an unfortunate thing, and that's certainly not equality. In fact, it's the opposite. I feel like sometimes people get so caught up into their emotions, they don't really have empathy or sympathy for the other person that they're talking to. Just because you feel passionate about something doesn't mean that you're right, and it certainly doesn't mean to lash out at somebody. Some people really just need to take a step back, look at the situation, and understand where the other person's coming from. This guy simply encouraged the idea of having equal fundraising opportunity for both the men and the women's homeless shelters so that both sides are supported. Equal support for both sides. He wasn't very biased. The idea supported both the men and the women. I'm so confused. He literally was vouching for both sides. I don't think that this guy should have had that kind of response to that idea. And for him to have personal experience being outed in this same scenario, being, homeless and recovering from an addiction, even though they probably didn't know that about him, is very saddening to hear. And if people are really looking for equality, I'd assume that's what equality is. Seemed pretty fair to me, not something just for one side, But who am I to say? I just make these videos.
Being privileged is being able to sit at home in America and tweet from your iPhone about how oppressed you are because people don't know your correct gender pronoun. Meanwhile, in other countries, at the age of 6 years old, they're sent to mine cobalt so that you can have that lithium battery in your iPhone to tweet about how oppressed you are.
Man. Well, I guess that's just one of the privileges of living in a first world country. And that privilege is that we're able to have time on our hands. But I guess the question is, do we have too much time? But I want to hear from you. Leave a comment down in the comment section below and just write, too much time or do we need more time?
So I consider myself to be an anti-feminist because the modern day feminism movement attacks everything that it means to be a woman. They don't want to empower women for the things that make us different and special, like being able to give birth and raise kids. They don't even want to consider that a quality of a woman, but of a birthing person instead. Also, I don't hate all men, and I don't think that's cute, and I don't think it's funny, and I think the war on men is actually really disgusting. That being said, I don't think of myself as a victim. I don't think I'm oppressed because of my gender. I think I have the same rights as men, and if you have any ideas of what rights I don't have that men do, be sure to leave that in the comments. I'm pro-women, anti-feminist.
Why anti-feminist though? Interesting when a woman is anti-feminist. When I hear a comment like this, or when people say things like this, it really lets me know that they don't even know what a feminist is. When you look in a dictionary, feminism isn't men against women or any of the likes. It's simply a definition that states the equality for women to be able to choose their rights, because we do have equal rights via the Constitution of the United States of America. And I feel like modern feminists today are really unclear of that. And since they're unclear of that, they use that as a tool to bash men in any way that they can. And it's seriously unfortunate. Me personally, I feel like women are great and we work very well together. And at the end of the day, it really just puts a wedge in between the both of us. It's harder to create families. Divorce rates are at an all-time high. And if you really look at the modern feminists, they use narratives like this and shaming tactics like this to try to recruit more women into their mind game and psychological movement of a war against men. But on one hand, it's their right. But I guess the question is, are they right? I feel as though we should live in a world where everybody's at peace and everybody works together. Men and women both alike come together in a loving way, make beautiful children, and complete out God's plan. I think in that way, it'll be a much more beautiful world. And personally, guys, I refuse to hold hatred in my heart. I love everybody in their own way, even if they're against me. It just feels strange to me that you wake up, you go about your day, and you just see little things and little snippets of life, and it stirs up something to where you have to make statements like this or try to influence people to be against other people. I just can't live that way, y'all. I'd rather look at the blue sky and take a deep breath of fresh air that God produced just for us and operate in love. Let's make the world a better place, y'all. And on that note, I'm gonna end this video. I most definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section below. Be sure to give us a thumbs up so you can push this video out into the algorithm so it reaches more people and you get more content just like this. Most definitely subscribe and most definitely ring that notification bell so you can get notified for every time we drop a new video. And on that note, everybody, peace and love to the world. We out.